Perfect. Well, thank you for taking some time here to join the podcast here in Vancouver. I recently had a chance to talk with the CEO and sporting director of the Whitecaps,
Okay.
and when Axel,
Yeah,
Axel Schuster, and when Matt was like, "Any chance you'd want to talk to the president of the
yeah,
Lions?" Like, I jump at these chances. I
yeah.
always have Lions on every year. This is my 11th year podcasting. Every year, you guys are great. You can always give me great players and stuff. But like, to get a perspective of the game, especially with somebody like you, I mean, I don't know how you would say no to that as an interviewer, right?
Excellent. Well, thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah, and I know that there's going to be tons of people that are going to be watching and listening and like wondering like how do you get a job as a president of a pro sports club? How does that happen?
Oh man, it's I've been in the business for over 30 years. So I didn't wake up one day and say, this is what I want to do. It just sort of evolved, and I've worked in almost every sport that you could possibly imagine. I've managed sporting facilities like stadiums and arenas. I've worked on events like Grey Cups and Briars and World Curlings and cycling tour events and and so just all those different experiences throughout my career sort of led me to where I am today. And most recently, prior to joining the BC Lions 3 years ago, I was the chief Grey Cup and events officer with the CFL. So I basically ran Grey Cups and touchdown Atlantics and touchdown Pacifics and the playoffs and all those things for the league.
Okay. So you've touched on all these different sports and stuff so over the years and kind of like is football your sport? Is it the number one or is it just
It is. I always gravitate back to it. I've worked in the CFL in probably six different capacities over the years. I always sort of gravitate back. So I feel like it just sort of picked me, if you know what I mean.
yeah, I got you. I got you.
I love the league. I love the sport. I love everything about it. So it's just a perfect fit for myself and my skill sets.
And where did you grow up?
I'm from Alberta.
Okay. So
And
football's been in your life your whole life then.
absolutely, yeah, absolutely. When I think I was about 7 years old. I get asked this all the time, but I think I was about 7 years old. I started going to football games in Edmonton, and the old Knothole gang, which was the Woodward's Knothole gang, which in BC there was the Woodward's Quarterback Club. And so it was the same thing. It was you come in and you get a cheap ticket. You had to go on your bike and pedal to Woodward's with your little patch on your jean jacket to get the ticket, and you go to the games. And
Yeah.
I've been a fan ever since.
So what is your first like when you go back to being a little kid, like what is the first football memory that kind of comes to mind?
I think I don't really, that's a good question. I haven't really ever thought about that, but it's probably just the excitement. It was when you were 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, going to the big game was a big deal. It was the thing to do, and everybody was doing it. They were getting 40, 50,000 people. It was a big event, probably the excitement around the event, and which is sort of funny. Probably half my career I've been in the event business, so maybe I just sort of gravitated to the event world.
I was just gonna say like maybe
Maybe,
something back then kind of
maybe,
triggered.
yeah.
So
No one's ever asked me that before, so maybe you just uncovered something.
yeah, you never know. So you mentioned Duane, you've been with the Lions now for 3 seasons. Is there something, if you were to look back over your time, is there something you're most proud of, or is that just too tricky to call?
No, like you're talking with in BC here, you're
Yeah.
obviously talking. Yeah, so we've had a very good growth. So when Amar Doman, our owner, bought the team in 21, it was sort of mid-season, and his first full season was 22. That's when I was that's when I got hired, and we, you know, probably since that day, I'm going to estimate we're about 9 or 10,000 season seats higher than we were then. And so seasons are most sports in the world today aren't growing their season numbers. They're finding that with so many different things to do, there's lots of, they're relying on, the old days, you have to be a season seat holder, and that's sort of how you supported a club.
Hmm.
And so for us to have that growth and just the season number alone is massive. We we are also uh we've taken it all sort of goes together, uh, we pride ourselves. Let me back up. We've had huge growth at the gate. We've had huge growth with sponsorships. We're hearing from our fan base that they come to a game and they feel like they've had got a great value before the game even starts. We really try to have an event-based theme to every game. Like we've done this, our concert kickoff as an example. It's become a thing. Before we even announce who the artist is, we've had LL Cool J, we've had 50 Cent, and this last year Snoop Dogg and One Republic the first year. Before we even announce it, we've sold 30 some thousand tickets to the game. And it's because now it's an event. People know it's going to be good,
Hmm.
and it wasn't like that at the very beginning. We do a game called the Watermelon Smash, and that's become a thing. So we're always trying to make sure that no matter what happens on the field, we're going to people that give us their time and their energy and pay to come. We're going to do whatever we can to entertain them, no matter what happens on the field. And we have guests and fans tell us all the time that when they're at Terry Fox Plaza and they're waiting to go into the game, they said, "I don't even need to go to the game. Like I'm happy. You've already made me happy." And that's what we try to do. But those kinds of things is what grows your business every day. We also really focus in. We pride ourselves on being BC's team. We never say we're the Vancouver Lions. We're the BC Lions, and so we made a conscious effort to take our camp is in Kamloops. We took a regular season game last year to Victoria. We took a preseason game this year to back to the island at Langford. We're constantly doing different events, different programs across the province, and we really want to be accessible. And make it easy for our fan base to experience us because it is a big. The Lower Mainland is not like going to Alberta teams, right? Like there's a lot of it takes you a while to get to places. Um, I'd say the key factor that we did in 2023 to really sort of speak to our fan base is we tried to get as many games as possible at 4 o'clock.
Mm.
And that was a change. Most teams like to go at night. And we said 4 o'clocks, what is it going to do for us? Well, one, we have about, I don't even want to tell you how many, but we have a lot of season seat holders on the island. They come across every game on ferries and they get to our games. So a 7 o'clock game, if you're on the island, you're not getting home that night. So now you got to invest in somewhere to sleep, and it becomes a 2 day, I called it an adventure, but it's true. It becomes a 2 day process versus a 4 o'clock game. You can come in, watch the game, get home all in the same day.
Right.
So same thing with the interior. We have fans in Kamloops and Kelowna and just sort of all over. We have a season seat holder in Prince George that comes every game. Like it's just huge distances. So how do we help our fan base come? And that's some of the things that we've been trying to work on. So entertainment,
Mm.
game
Mm.
themes, accessibility, good value for your dollar, and then obviously we want to have a winning product on the field, but we can't always control that.
Yeah, yeah, fair enough. I wanted to touch quickly on the, getting Snoop Dogg and stuff, and like just the sheer roar of, his performance here and how cool he was after, chucking footballs into the stands and all that stuff. What is the thinking behind that? Like, how do you decide on who you pick? And
Yeah.
is it financially where you're like, oh man, I hope this really does take off? Like,
You,
is it a bit of a gamble?
well, uh, let me back up. So Amar Doman buys our team, our owner, and I think on his first press conference, he said, "I want to give something to the to the to the fans of the BC Lions in BC." And so most times when you do an entertainment artist of some sort at a football game, at a Grey Cup, at a Super Bowl, whatever it is, it's halftime. So it's a short, condensed version of a show as a part of that game. What Amar said, which is very unique, was I want it to be above and beyond the game. So we've always focused on a pre-game concert. And what that does for us is it's actually another event.
Hmm.
It's packaged into one. And so it's a full 45 to 50-minute set. And so when you buy a ticket to that game, you literally are getting two for one. And you might not go to a Snoop Dogg show, or you might not go to a Lions game, but at the end of the day, you get this ticket that you can come to both. And that's sort of the concept. And so that's the first feature, sort of the first part of that. Um, I would say in the early days, there was probably a little bit of a risk assessment on, do you think this artist will draw? I
Hmm.
think that's what you're asking, right?
Yeah.
And is that draw going to be a benefit to the club? Is it going to make sense? Well, it it's not a typical relationship between it's not like a concert promoter. You've been around the business a long time. A concert promoter comes in, creates a break even analysis, determines, are they going to do a show, how many tickets they need to sell, is it going to break even, what's the promoter profit, yada yada yada.
Hmm.
So here it's about, how are we entertaining the fans, and are they going to be entertained? So when an artist is picked, it's not necessarily from a financial perspective. It's more for, what is it going to do for the overall environment of the game, and are people going to like it? And what we've seen is, the first year it was a little over 30,000. Nobody knew what it was. Like, what is this thing? Is it going to be halftime? Is he going to come in and wave to the crowd? Like, what is it, right? Then year two, there was a little bit of growth, but still it wasn't 100%. It didn't sell out. Well, boom, in the third year,
Well, now there's fan expectation.
but the third year with 50 Cent, like, it went off the charts. Like, we sold that game out in about, I think it was 3 or 4 days. It was amazing. And then coming into the Snoop Dogg year, this year, the same thing happened. So
Yeah.
you can't scale back. They're the artists that have been picked, and this is all Amar, by the way. He takes full. This is his baby. He wants to do it. He negotiates with the artist directly. But if you look at the artists, they scale over a bunch of genres. So it's not new. Snoop Dogg has a lot of different fan base outside of music. His Olympic pieces and all the things, and he played a Super Bowl. Like, he's just Snoop is Snoop, right? Sort
Right.
of the same thing with 50 Cent. It, LL Cool J had his television show. He's a movie star. He's more than, so there's more than just the music preference there. There's that celebrity piece to these artists. And I think has been the key.
Yeah, that's got to be one of the best parts of the job. Like, I guess I'm kind of tail spinning my own question into something else here, but
Yeah,
and the reason I ask that is, like, as president of the BC Lions, I would imagine, have your hand, or at least watch most of the aspects of the entire team, everything that what they do and what you guys do. Is there a
absolutely.
favorite part of the job for you?
Yeah, Todd, why are you asking all these good questions? I think for me, the game days are obviously, they're incredibly stressful, obviously, because when you want your team to do well on the field at all times, right? So that's a part of the job that you just can't control. But when you sell out a building and you have all these fans coming in and you see how entertained they are and they're leaving having a good time and just all of that environment to me is what makes it all worth it. We work very hard. We work 365 days a year for 10 days. And if you think about so those 10 days are a culmination of a lot of different pieces that we put together on and to put on the best possible event we can.
So let me ask you then. You're like, oh, here we go.
Yeah.
Just keep coming with these questions. So we talked about the favorite part. What's the most challenging thing about what you do?
I don't really know, to be honest. Like, I wouldn't say there's any real challenges. Every day there's challenges. We all have challenges in everyday life, whatever we do. Some things you like to do better than other things. But um, you know, I really don't know. Like, there's just everything we do, even if it's a challenge or not, it's about the means to the ends, which is putting on a great event and being a good corporate citizen, if you will. There's so many different ways we reach and touch people that the reward is way higher than the challenge. So I don't really look at it as a challenge. I look at it as we're just working hard to put on the best possible game days, events, whatever it might be. We're working hard to do good things, and that to me is it outweighs any kind of challenge.
Yeah. Well, that actually dovetails nicely, Duane, into I don't know how to ask this beyond just straight up asking it. Like, what's for you? What's your long-term vision for the team?
Our
I
long
know it's a
term,
big question.
yeah, no, our long term vision is obviously every year we want to win championships, and so in our business plan every year, it's funny, win the Grey Cup. So obviously that every team wants to do that, but we really try to do everything we possibly can do to support our football ops department to be able to have all the tools in the toolbox to go out and win championships. So that's a bit. We want to be known as a championship team, which we are. We have rich with history, but we want to be on the upper echelon of the league at all times, and every team around the league. It doesn't matter who my counterparts throughout this country would all answer the same way, but we really want to, you know. Well, I'll tell you what Amar Doman's vision is, our owner, and I echo it 100%. We believe we lost a generation, there used to be, in the 70s and 80s, a lot of the stadiums across the country here and in Edmonton and others, were getting 40, 45, 50,000 people a game. And then it dropped. And we believe that when you have that kind of success, um, it doesn't erode overnight. And so all of a sudden, the league was declining in attendance, and I don't think the league moved quick enough to change that. And so when Amar first bought the team, he said, we lost a generation. There's a generation of people that loved it, then it fell off. And how do we get it back? So we're really, really, really focusing on kids, families, and we want to regenerate the youth, if you will. If you come to Lions games now, you will see it is full of
Oh yeah.
kids. It is
Oh yeah.
full of young adults, that 20 something having a good time. It's not just the older generation. They're still there. They still love it, but we got to keep replenishing. So that's very important to us. And we want our brand to be something that people are proud to wear. When I first moved to British Columbia, I could not see anywhere people wearing BC Lions brands.
Hmm.
Now it doesn't matter where I go. Every day, where I walk, I see someone wearing a hat or a shirt or a jersey. And so that, as well as a sign that things are moving in the right direction. So the
You ever
pride.
stop them and be like, "Hey, nice hat"?
There's people that I'll wear a hat and people will come up to me all the time and say, "Hey, are you a Lions fan?" I say, "Absolutely," and that's all I
I
say,
am.
you
Sure.
know. But it's there's we have a lot of pride in that. So it's really about re-energizing the youth, re-energizing the brand. Make We believe, and this is a little bit self-serving, but we believe it's cool to be a Lions fan again. And it wasn't always that way, maybe 5, 10 years ago.
Hmm. Hmm. No, so aside from the Grey Cup and
Yeah.
winning the Grey Cup, taking it home for everybody, is there certain aspects of your day to day that are more rewarding than others?
Yeah, I think when you can help people through our voice is very important to us as well. And we are constantly, like, I don't even know the exact number, to be honest with you, Todd. I think we do 300 school visits a year.
Oh wow.
And we do that in January, February, March, April, leading into training camp. And so every one of those visits, you're talking to kids about something. It's not just going and throwing a football around. There's always some kind of message, where we run clinics all across the province. Just so that we're really trying to enrich people's lives at the same time. And like, I know that sounds very vague, but we're trying to be good corporate community partners to the province. And
Mhm.
how do we, if we can bring a smile to a little kid's face, then that's very important to us. And this last weekend at Kids Fest, we there was a flag football tournament on the beach, and you don't see that every day.
Mm.
And so the organizers are there. We're helping to support it, but again, just growing the sport of football, but also, having fun doing it.
Yeah, well, I mean that's where it starts too, right? It's the kids. You got to get them, start them
Absolutely.
young, and you've got them for life, pretty much at that point, right?
Absolutely. We started we're really trying to focus in on trying to grow the sport of football for the ladies as well. We've done a couple last couple of years. We've been working on a um uh like some clinics for women's flag and because it's just the more people playing the sport, sometimes the more people that understand the sport, and you understand the sport, you become a bigger fan. And football's a complicated sport. It's not a reactionary sport like most. Like, there's lots of, as you know, there's X's and O's around it, and so the more people know about it and understand it, the better.
Yeah, I agree. So that same train of thought, then, Duane, like how important is it for the Lions to develop hometown talent as opposed to bringing in international talent?
So the makeup of the league is, I think you know this, it's 50% Canadians and 50% nationals, or sorry, Americans, right?
Yeah,
And so there's a 50-50 ratio, but we think it's very important. We have Nathan Rourke on our team,
right.
our QB1, and it's very you know he was born on the island. He was born in Victoria. He has family there. His fam when he joined us in 21 and started in 22, um, you know, to have a Canadian quarterback as your star player in our league, in this market, is massive. And if you look at our roster, we have tremendous players all across, our club, but you got McInnes, who last year led the league in receiving yards, Canadian. You had Matthew Betts, who 2 years ago, before he went to this Detroit Lions in the NFL, led the league in sacks. You have Nathan Rourke, like,
Sure, you
so
got like Sean White and like, yeah,
Sean White, who's the most, you know I don't even know what records he's on now. Like, he's always breaking records. So we just have a lot of good Canadian players on our team, I think it's very inspirational to
Oh,
young,
agreed.
yeah,
100% agree
to
for sure.
young people looking at it and going, like, there is a pathway for me. There was a time where Canadian quarterbacks didn't even get looked at. It was you just, for whatever reason. And now, Nathan's paving the way, and others like Trey Ford and in Edmonton, are paving the way for, future development in not only our league, but in the States as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah,
Okay, Duane, I'd love to get outside of football and what you're known for, if that's cool, just for a little bit.
absolutely.
What are you binge watching lately?
What am I binge watching? I like the new Dexter, to be honest.
Yeah, it's
Uh,
pretty good.
yeah, so I've been into the new Dexter, and that's sort of the latest and the greatest, yeah, for
Yeah.
me.
Are you a
Yeah.
fan of all the superhero movies that get made?
Not really. I'm not really a superhero person. I'll watch any sport movie. I love any kind of sport movie. It doesn't matter what it is. Um, but like the Dexters of the world, I don't know why. I just sort of like those kind of shows.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
Speaking of sports movies, you ever watch the F1? I can't remember what it's called, but like it's a series where they follow all of the racers and stuff.
Yeah, so I didn't finish it, but I've watched a bit of it. I think it's tremendously well done.
It like as a, I've been doing this for radio for 20 years,
Yeah.
podcasting 11 years. So like I'm so entrenched into that production world and like, B-side, B-rolls and like cool transitions and everything. Like it is so far above and beyond everything else that's being made.
Mhm.
The reason I bring this up is there a chance for that to happen in the
Yeah,
CFL, you think?
yeah,
Or is
yeah.
it too intrusive?
Yeah, I don't know. Our that's a great question. I don't know the answer to it, but I will tell you that our social team, um, if you follow us, you know that sort of across the CFL, everyone thinks like they. I'm not blowing our own horn here. Everyone tells us that they think our team is the best in the league, and like Nick Kowalski and Liam and Matt Baker and just all of our team that
Oh,
works on this. And
Bake Skills. Bakes is one of the best.
yeah, it's almost Netflix quality, and they're getting behind the scenes, and they're doing this show called Arrow Up. And if you haven't checked it out, you should check it out. But it's a very 5 episodes type of a style for following stories throughout the season, and it's behind the scenes, and it's very similar to what you're saying, but just not with the Netflix budgets.
Yeah,
but
fair enough.
but do a very, 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 very good job. So it I don't know the answer, but I do believe those kinds of things are very important, because the more you learn about people behind the scenes, not just on with the helmet on the field, it just helps the whole business grow. And when you have a sport that wears helmets, and you don't necessarily see the faces first, it also is very important to do.
Oh, 100%. Suddenly you start to feel like, I know that lead character.
Yeah.
I know what they're like. I know what they're, behind the scenes and they're super funny or they're like,
Exactly. So
yeah,
we personally at our team level try to do as much of that as possible every day, and just so any fans can feel like they're getting to know our players.
yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
What was the music like in your house as a kid growing up?
I've always sort of been a the hard rock sort of guy.
Okay,
I grew up in that time, so yeah, I liked just all the Aussies and AC/DCs and just all of that sort of genre of music.
sure, sure. And what was your first concert you went to?
Van Halen. Yeah.
Okay, well, when
I
was
think it
that?
was
Where was that?
1983, I think it was.
Okay.
I think that was the tour. Was that a tour? I think so.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right before
Yeah,
84 they did one. Yeah, sure.
I think so. Anyway, I believe that was it. I think my parents told me they took me to some other show, but I don't really remember it. So I think they might have. It might.
Yeah.
That was the one I remember the best.
David Lee Roth or Hagar?
No, it was David Lee Roth.
Well, of course it was for that, but like, do you like Hagar as much as
Oh
Roth?
no, yeah, yeah. I think they both. It's interesting to switch it up to have the lead man, if you will, lead person change a band and to basically continue to grow is pretty amazing.
That's crazy. Like it's especially considering how big Van Halen was with Roth.
Correct. And then to continue the growth is unheard of, right? It never happens. So like I can't
Right.
even think of another example
Well,
really.
AC/DC would be the
Right,
only one
right,
I could
right,
think
right,
of, right?
right,
Like Bon
right.
Scott, and then
Yeah,
of course Brian comes in and does
right,
Back in Black. It's like one of the biggest albums ever made. But
right,
like other than
right.
those two,
Right. And look at those. Those are the two that we just talked about.
that's it.
Like, but Brian has been around for so long that you don't even think of him as the second guy, right? I don't anyway.
Right.
Anyway,
Yeah.
yeah,
Okay, Duane, I'll ask you two more questions. Thanks again for doing this and
yeah, no
and
problem. This
taking
is
some
great.
time. This isn't a question. It's more of a do you have a near death story where you're like, holy shit, I could have just died?
Yes, I do actually. Um, I when so early in my career, I um I worked for the RCMP. And when I was a young gentleman, I used to want to be a police officer. And I was in this special program at the time called, it was Supernumerary Special Constable, which full uniform, had a bunch of training, but it wasn't regular member training. And so but you were basically performing the role of a police officer in Alberta. And I was in a high-speed chase in with another member, and we were following a car, and we actually went over this I wouldn't necessarily call it a cliff, but it was a very high drop, and we went over and we landed pig nose on the front of the car.
It's like Duke of Hazard stuff.
And we were literally in our seatbelts hanging. And I remember the next day I showed up for work and I was making like no money. It was like a government funded program. And the regular member said, I almost didn't show up for work today. And I said, well, what about me? But no, it was an interesting experience. And then the sketch artist of the detachment drew a picture of us because we were both French, and drew a picture of a car flying over this sort of cliff and calling it the Flying Frenchman. So I still
Nice.
have that today.
Nice. You know, when I was doing the afternoon show at CFox, I had a friend that was a cop here, and I don't know if he's still here, but I had a friend that was a cop in Vancouver, and he was like, "Hey, you want to come do a ride along?" And so I did, and you know, it was super fun and like kind of interesting, and he let me come along and just tag along and do everything. Right at the very end of the night, he goes, "Hey, do you want to put on the attack suit and let our dog attack you?"
Yeah, yeah,
And I'm like, hell yeah, bro. Like, how would you say no to that? He's like, dude, we've had so many people come do ride-alongs. Nobody ever wants to do it.
yeah, yeah.
But it was like, it was this one of the scariest things that's ever happened to me.
Yeah.
Because
But you'll remember it forever.
well, these dogs, the force, the bite, even though you have the full padding on and everything, like the bite of that dog, you could still feel it through this, like, you know, padding of like that thick, you know.
Yeah, you're a brave person.
That or crazy, one of the two. All right, last one. It could be the easiest, could be the toughest.
Okay.
What's your career highlight thus far?
Oh man. Huh. I don't know.
Toughest.
That is definitely the toughest question. I have a many, many, many. Um, I'm going to go off the football grid a little bit here for a minute.
Mm,
Uh, um, Years ago, I was running an event, um, which was basically a UCI cycling event called Tour of Alberta. And it's the same cyclists that are in Tour de France. And so it was that caliber, and we were doing this thing across the province of Alberta. It was basically a 6-day race, 12 different communities, everything in between. The average, distance was, 180, 200 kilometers a day, televised, to 50 million people around the world. And it was a big thing. So we do this first year race. It finished in downtown Calgary. There was 100,000 people there for the gentleman that Peter Sagan. If you're a cycling guy, comes across, he wins the race. We have a local sponsorship with Subway on his chest because he's winning the sprint jersey that day. And that's a great finish to an event. The next day my phone rings and it's someone from Europe, and he goes, "Is Duane there?" I go, "Yeah." And I answer my phone, and it was the global head of Subway asking me, how did I get Peter Sagan to wear his logo on his jersey? And then I said to myself, that is an interesting story. Maybe it's not my career highlight, but it is one of those things that you just understand the power of sport. And we're running this event in this province in the country of Canada, and the head of global partnerships for this massive international brand in London, England, saw our event that day through this power of sport. And just makes you think that if we work really hard, we can do great things, because sport is very powerful.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it, buddy. Thank you, man, for taking the time.
Uh,
Are you active, by the way, on social media, or is it just the
no,
team stuff?
no,
Or no?
no, I don't. No, I don't. I not really.
Fair enough.
Yeah. No,
I'm I'm jealous, a
yeah,
little bit
yeah,
jealous.
yeah. No, I like. No, not really. I'm not a. Yeah. No. We'll leave it at
All right.
that.
Well, we'll
Yeah.
tag the team when we're chucking this stuff around.
Yeah. Tag the team is perfect. Yeah.
Yep.
Awesome. Thanks
Thank
very
you,
much.
man. Thank you for doing this. Go
Yeah.
Lions, go.
Yeah, it's great. Thanks for the great questions.